It's time.
Well, somehow I have got a Santa Claus face on you. I have no idea why that's happening.
The thing is, you're going to be brilliant today.
I sure hope that I'm going to be, because I just put a Santa Claus face on you. Hey guys, we're going live now, ready or not. Hey you, yes I mean you. Are you ready to make your life pop? Well then, welcome to Pop with Pallas. Find out how to follow your passion, your purpose, and express it with personality. Learn from people who figured out how to do that and are willing to share because they want you to make your life pop too. And we talk in the show about what passion, purpose, and personality all mean, by the way. I am Pallas, as you might have guessed, and we are joined today by Tony Kemp. Hey, Tony.
How you doing?
And by Maaike Christie Beekman. Hi, Maaike.
Hey, Pallas, how are you?
I'm well. Now, hopefully you're listening to this on 106.1 FM, Wellington Access Radio, or perhaps you are streaming it live on the web, or perhaps you are on Facebook at Make Life Pop. And if you're on Facebook, I wasn't able to actually get my Facebook Live tripod set up, so I'm holding the phone, and all of you out there listening can picture this, holding the phone as I speak. So hopefully I'm going to learn how to multitask really quickly, and we'll try to getting motion sickness, yes, and then I'm going to figure out how to get it onto the tripod during the musical break. So
perfect plan.
Yes, it is. How was your week, Tony? Because we did have a week off.
Yeah.
We did. My week was, it was good, very good, but quite full on, a bit of hard work. So yesterday I actually felt quite exhausted and fell asleep on the couch while I watched Despicable Me 3 with the kids.
That's a
which is
week.
great. It's got some great 80s music in it.
Yeah, well there will be the musician coming.
The 80s is coming back. It's back.
Yeah, oh that's cool. And that's something that, Tony, you will have in common with our guest today, Maaike, because Maaike is a musician. So I'm, Maaike, going to let you take the microphone and tell us exactly what you do now, but what you used to do, how you got to the point where you are now.
Yeah. So music definitely, because I started off as a classical singer, and that was back in Holland, and studied at the conservatorium there, doing singing. And first of all, I was a little bit, more into jazz and pop and stuff like that. And then I changed into classical music. Did that for quite a while. Was an opera singer, on stage with other people, with orchestras and all through Europe. And then I, was sort of a change of plan in a way. One of the things was that I was struggling with allergies, and so being a full-time singer is not really that fun if you can't rely on your voice constantly. So, there was just a period where I had recordings and rehearsals and performances, and in the meantime I was just lying in bed, being quiet, and just hoping, praying that my voice would hold.
So you were just basically having to make, your whole life was serving your voice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Does that sound familiar to you, Tony? Sorry to interrupt, Maaike, but I'm just thinking from the musical perspective, that's really something that dominates your life. If you have a gig, and especially a paid gig, that's it. You have to show up.
Especially being a drummer with the body and the limbs and sore backs. And, and I know also what you're talking about, the voice. Can I ask what kind of allergies?
Pollen.
Right.
Cats, peanuts.
Yeah, everyday life, basically.
The reason I ask is in case someone else has got a similar thing, and you might be able to help someone on air by suggesting did you overcome it by any, or find out remedies?
The thing was, you can obviously use all kinds of antihistamine and stuff. It just depends. Like for me, now I am allergic, but I can get by. It's not a problem. But if you're full-time using your voice, it's such a strain. And then everything is a little bit more swollen. You're much more susceptible for getting another cold. And so it can never really rest, and it can never really relax. And that was one of the reasons why it was just so hard to keep it up, especially in those periods where you know that you're going to have lots of pollen in the air. and through that, obviously, allergies.
And that, you talk about being able to follow your passion, and then you find out that, well, actually my body won't let me follow my passion. Athletes have to deal with this when they get injured. So there's quite a transition, both mental and physical in that, isn't there?
Oh, totally, totally. I mean, the first thing is, if somebody asks you, when you're at a party, so what do you do? They don't ask you, who are you? They ask, what do you do? And for a long time, I could say, well, I'm an opera singer. And there was a certain pride with that. And people were obviously, a lot of people are, tell me more, So there was definitely, it gave me a real knock in my confidence of, I am a singer, but actually I'm not because I can't sing. Or not at the standard that I want to go for. And so that was a dip to really go through and think like, so now what? What am I? Who am I? And
I might point out at this point that you are actually Dutch, because we didn't actually make that clear. But so you sang in Europe, and made a transition from your career and also from your homeland here.
Yeah, but the transition of doing something different, that was still happening in Holland, and so I did all kinds of things in the time to figure out who I was or what I was or whatever you want to call it. And so I was administrator, and then I did marketing for an orchestra, which was really cool. But it was not who I was, and it sort of, you do those things, but you just notice that you're going through the motions, but you're not really excited about it. Yeah. So then I noticed that standing next to somebody, teaching them, coaching them, training them, that was something that always got me going in whatever shape or form. So would it be singing, teaching, or would it be just looking at somebody on stage and saying, something is just not gelling with that person? And then, giving some tips and helping them. And through that, I thought, so this might be who I am or what I want to be. So I did psychodrama, which is a great way for people to, through the theater of spontaneity, through improvisation, in a group setting, to find out how they communicate with others, what their role is within a setting of a team or of a family, or just a one-on-one. And I did that for 2 years, which was a great way for me to transition into another role, which was more the trainer and coach. Yeah. And then I made the transition to go to New Zealand because I met a Kiwi, and he said, you know what, I live in Karori and I want to go back.
That's cool. Yeah, and I have to say at this point that Maaike and I met when I joined a choir after I had moved to New Zealand, and she was my choir director. And one of the ways that you have honored your passion and combined it with also this real need to contribute to your community via teaching and coaching is through choir directing. So she's the best choir director I've ever worked with, just for the record. And then we met and started comparing some of our background, mine in news and hers in on stage, I should say, and figured out, okay, how can we help others who are facing these challenges of redefining who they are after you've left one career, but you still want to honor what you're best at and your passions and values, and find a new way to transfer those skills. So I will, at this point, turn it over to you, because you had already started talking about how you had identified the coaching skills, but then you approached me to start a company, and this was the original company we started before POP came about. And what was it that you saw that you thought together with our skill set we could turn around and help others with?
Well, yeah, so coming here to New Zealand, there are a few things. I mean, I am still singing now, but I'm doing it in my own pace and do certain things, but I definitely don't want to be at a high professional level where you always need to just perform and make sure that you can, and that you can sing every time. So I was looking at ways to get back into the training coaching, something that I started already back in Holland. I was working in the Netherlands with artists and how they can be more themselves on stage, how to deal, for instance, with criticism. And I was also working then with other people, just, corporates as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it all came towards presentation skills. But when you're talking about presentation skills, it's always, who are you for real? Because we can say, stand tall, be like this, do that, cookie cutter. But then you have somebody that is stiff and inauthentic on stage. So I was looking at a way to create something where people were could be more themselves and find their own identity, and through that be more real.
Mm-hmm.
When we met, I thought, I don't want to be out here on my own doing this. I want a partner. And what was so cool was you coming from from the news anchoring journalism side. You also did a lot of presentation, and when we started talking, there was such a we really found alignment in that sort of sense of like, you need to know who you are first before you can actually sort of present it to the outside world.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing was you brought the stagecraft skills. I brought the skills for presenting yourself on camera.
Mm-hmm.
We both had the in-person presentation down. But you really had the background in the body language, that sort of thing, and I really had the background in the written word.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were able to create this sort of suite of offerings, but then we had to create that groundedness. How do you find out who you are?
Mm-hmm.
And then we started looking around for models, and we just didn't find one that really suited us, or we felt that it was memorable or that it worked for us, and so then we got creative. But I'm going to ask you, Tony, because you are on stage a lot performing. How important is it for you as a drummer in a band to not just go out there and put on this persona of, I call you resident rock star, but put on this persona of rock star when you are also this, great dad and community do-gooder? Look at what you're doing right now.
I'm always in training, I think, when going on stage. I don't always perform the best, and then other times I perform really well, which some of them I've got on camera, and it's like I'm always thinking about it, like, why am I doing so good then but not on that day, or why do I feel not so confident?
What have you concluded?
I haven't found I'm still working it out, but obviously you get better all the time. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but confidence has a lot to do with it, like actually knowing yourself. And you were saying finding yourself, but some people it might take years. How do you get that down so it's not years and years? Like, how do you get the confidence out of people? That's the question.
Yeah.
Well, that's
you guys.
Yeah, and that's what we came
Because
up
I
with.
want to know the answer.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a workbook for you.
Well, and that is exactly why we said we need something of a model, because
Yes.
I love models. I want something visual. And when you're talking about being on stage and being a performer, and it could be on stage, but it is also in a boardroom meeting, or when you meet somebody for the first time for an interview, you want to make a good impression, or it's a presentation, whatever it is, there's always a certain amount of things that are those elements that make you rock it. I'm just going to use that word. And one is obviously having those presentation skills,
Which would be a strong voice, a confidence,
exactly. You're non-verbal. How do you stand? How is your posture? How is your energy? How is your voice? But then there is also that side of, are you here? Are you present? And are you confident with that? And that goes so much deeper, and that will also help you to deal with any kind of nerves. Nerves are there, they will never go, and they should be your friend. But they're like a backpack. They're not in you, you don't put them on, but it's in your backpack, and you just take them along and acknowledge them, and that's it. And then it's still again and again going back to, who am I? What are my values? But also, what have I got now? and honoring that, you know. And that's a little bit of the mindset of Carol Dweck with, I might not be able to do everything, but just put the word yet behind it and you will make it much better for yourself already. So I might not always sing in tune yet, you know, or I might not have the sharpest answer yet, you know, and with that you help yourself to. But so going back to the book, all those things, we thought there must be something where we can help others and ourselves in a way remind us of who we are, and with that there is this groundedness, there is this anchoring, and that helps you, that awareness helps you then to take ownership of whatever you do.
And that's when we came up with our multi-layered chocolate bonbon model, which I have explained on this show before, but essentially your core talents are at the core, that's the nut or the nougat. Your values and passions are the caramel layer. And we so often feel those but don't know how to put them into words or know how to honor them. You know, for example, the passion was music, and so you had a career in music, and then you found you couldn't make music your career. How do you still honor that passion? Or for me, working in news, not being with family was sort of a value violation because I needed to see my children grow up. So how do I still honor the things that I did in news, but in a different way? Then that's the caramel layer. Then the crunch layer is your life experience and your skill set and your education. So once you sort of can own each layer and the aspects of each layer that make you who you really are, then you can stand in front of a crowd of cheering fans and perform on stage, or you can stand in the boardroom and say, okay, this I know I am bringing to the table. I am bringing a certain amount of musical talent or a certain amount of expertise in this field. And so you can still own that. But then if you still feel a little lack of confidence, employ exactly what Maaike was talking about, and that is, I can bring this amount of experience, but I'm still feeling a little not so confident. So I can bring this amount and I will, you know, I'm not quite to the level that I want yet, but it's just a matter of time till we reach those 10,000 hours of expertise that Malcolm Gladwell says that we need to actually master something. And I would challenge everyone to look at what they feel they cannot own and ask others. And that is one fast way to find out, yep, you really are better than you think you are, because others will help you identify it. I think on that note, and because my arm is about to fall off from holding up the phone on the Facebook Live, we will go to Maike's first piece, and that is...
What is it?
It's A Case of You, which is a Joni Mitchell song, but what did we find?
Oh, well...
A gem, hopefully.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. We listened to a little bit of it. So basically, A Case of You, Joni Mitchell. If you don't know Joni Mitchell, you have to start getting to know her because she is amazing. And there's this album of her, Both Sides Now, which is this beautiful album with songs of her, but then also jazz standards. And it takes you, that album takes you through the life cycle of love. And A Case of You is one of her original songs, and the one that is on Both Sides Now is beautifully arranged. So I said, oh, can we please have that one? But we couldn't find it. And then we were searching, I think it was Spotify, and then we found Prince, and I think it's a beautiful one. So I hope you enjoy.
He's a master. Here we go. It's all right, we're not really meant to say how we're playing the music.
And we're really actually supposed to have this in landscape mode, so I apologize, but my phone kept flipping off the stand, so that was challenging. Tony, how much time do we have left in the show?
11 minutes.
11 minutes, and I have 20% battery left. So we're going to see if this actually finishes. If it doesn't, I'm going to say thanks for tuning in. And I think what I might do is try to turn this broadcast off and then start re-recording with it in landscape mode. So stay tuned. Coming right back.